Good morning. My name is Toby Adelusi. I am an author. By the grace of God, I've written a couple of books, over 20. And the latest release is on the subject matter of relationship. Somewhere about 2020, um, the Lord began to show me visions of the need to begin to focus also on the part of relationship as one of the areas of my call as a Bible teacher. And you see, the family is important in our lives because you are a product of a family. You will also build a family, whether you like it or not. And it's important for us to have the perspectives of God about the issues of marriage, relationship, and all of that. So I've written 3 books. One is Enlightened Single, which teaches on red flags, how to make the right choice. It's built on the story of Nabal and Abigail, how a good Abigail can marry a foolish Nabal. And up till today, we see the same cycle. Good people end up marrying wrong people, right? Sometimes you ask yourself, how did this happen? There is something to know from that story. The second one I wrote is The Enlightened Husband, because I believe I'm of the school of opinion that the man is a critical factor in the success of every marriage. Yeah, because in most cases, he's the one who makes the choice and is the one who cannot keep the choice. So, the enlightened husband is drawn from the inspiration of Lapidot. You know Lapidot, the great guy who was the husband of Deborah. Deborah was a judge, a prophetess, but the Bible says she was a wife of Lapidot. So you see, the Bible might not have spoken so much about Lapidot, but Lapidot was a great guy by all standards. If he could keep a home with a mighty woman like Deborah, who was a judge and a prophetess, and yet submitted to him as a wife, there are things we need to learn from his life. So it's like a 30-day devotional, drawing lessons from different scriptures on how to be an enlightened husband. The third one is the enlightened couple. I believe strongly that the syllabus of marriage has changed, and you will be out of sync if you're using an outdated syllabus to answer a current question, or you're using an outdated syllabus to study for a current examination. That's a recipe for failure. These 3 books are on Amazon, but much more. I want us to have enlightening conversations in the month of February. So I'm going to be doing short videos on some important matters. I mean, it's a large spectrum of issues with relationship and marriage, but we're going to be touching on a few things this month. I'm going to release short videos. I don't want to bore you, but I want to encourage you to listen, to share, to subscribe, to like. I believe strongly that a lot of homes, a lot of lives, a lot of decisions will be properly made if we have the right perspective about the concept of relationship and marriage. So it's relationship, enlightening conversations in February. And then we can talk about you getting the book if you get value from the conversations that we begin to have. Now, the first thing I want to talk about in this episode is the fact that marriage is not entirely a social construct because it has a spiritual origin. What do I mean? The Bible says, as my book of reference, that after God had made mankind, he was the one that brought up the idea of it is not good for man to be alone. Notice, not a boy. It is not good for man to be alone. I will make an helpmeet for him. So understand that it was God breathed. This idea was God initiated. Everything he was making was perfect and good until he made man, and man was one human being whole in himself. And then God said, it is not good for this guy to be alone. Now, when you go to Genesis chapter 2, I want to read the Amplified Classic. I think there are certain important things there. You see, one of the things that acknowledging that something issues out of God does is the fact that he helps you to see things from the right perspective. Perception is reality. Let me say that to you again. Perception is reality. If you have the wrong perception or perspective about something, you've gotten it wrong altogether. If you think that marriage is just a social construct, then you're not likely to work it according to pattern. So if I buy this microphone, I bought this microphone, the name of the producer or the manufacturer is right there. This acknowledging that this did not just emerge out of itself, not by any theory of evolution, but that it emerged from a producer, helps me to understand that there is a manual. You see that? So because I acknowledge that there is a producer who designed this masterpiece, as an intention, as a purpose behind it, then that helps me to read the manual, because I want to have an understanding of how the mind of the producer was working when he manufactured this. This is critical. You see, Psalm 11 verse 3 says, if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? If we don't get the foundation right, the building we're going to build is already defective. And it doesn't matter how beautiful it looks, right? If we don't get the foundation straight, then we miss it out. The great Miles Monroe said, if the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. There is a lot of abuse in marriages today because the foundation, the purpose, the design in the mind of the designer is not even understood. The average person in the world right now sees marriage purely as a social construct. So instead of being a covenant, it is now being defined as a contract, right? It's just seen from the social construct of, I see somebody that I like, we have chemistry, and then we sign it and we're done. No. Understanding that this came out of God, the idea was God breathed, helps you to also see the marriage institution from the mind of the creator. This is important. If you don't see it correctly from the right lenses of the creator, you're going to mess it up. And I'm sure you've seen things abused, used against the intent of the producer. That's the subject matter of abuse. So something can be used, can be abused, can be misused, right? A lot of what you have that constitutes marital problem is a wrong perception, a wrong perspective and understanding of the concept of marriage, which in turn brings us into a whole lot of mess. So it was God who said, it is not good for man to be alone. The idea of trying to make things good without God is a problem in itself, because the fact that you're putting this microphone, there are other good uses I could put this microphone to, and yet they are not in tandem with the concept of the manufacturer. I could turn this into something, maybe put it in a flour and roll it, right? And make it a microphone dough or something like that. There are other good uses I could put this to, and yet it will not be the correct usage of this microphone according to the design. You see, I love purpose. I believe strongly that the subject matter of purpose is fundamental to understanding everything correctly. If purpose is not understood, you don't yet understand the subject. So this is why I'm starting this series on this precipice of, you have to understand the mind of God concerning marriage first. That's an assignment, and we're going to go into that in the next episode. What was in the mind of God for creating the institution of marriage? Why did he say it is not good for man to be alone? He is the Almighty. He could have kept Adam as one person, all in himself and just doing life all by himself. But in his wisdom, he said, no, it is not good for man to be alone. I'd like you to start meditating on that, because in the next session, I'm going to be going into the purpose first, so that we have an understanding of the purpose of God, the idea behind the mind of the creator in bringing up the institution of marriage. And then every subsequent episode will be dealing with many important matters that affects your choice and your keeping of your choice. I love you. Please like the video, share, get ready for more, because enlightening conversations is going to bless your life. I'll see you some other time. Have a great day.